Hi YouTube, today's vlog is going to be about toys. That sounds like a DX7, Yamaha DX7, at least it sounds like it. I don't know, somebody could probably fill me in on that if that is or isn't, but music was something that I should have taken up as a kid, or at least I should have tried it, but at the time I didn't see myself doing it because musical notation was like reading hieroglyphics and I just didn't have the dexterity to play an instrument. But I'm getting off topic here. I want to talk to you today about toys. I had a lot of them as a kid, but I never really played with them like you're supposed to as a kid, because there's that whole, again, that whole bridge between, the autism and the neurotypical side of things. In between that bridge, there's the whole imaginative play things that kids have, as they grow up and they develop, and I never had that. And I do have some examples here, and I'll just kind of run down. I'll pop up some pictures and I'll show you toys and what I remember about them. So, the first toy I got up here, this is like a little trolley that my parents got me to motive myself around the house. And in the photo album, Mom put an interesting caption that said that I like to spin the wheels. And I know that, I do remember moving myself around. I remember at one point the plastic seat on it broke, and I suspect I might have broken it during a meltdown. Next picture. So this is just like a little, like the dashboard of a car thing that my parents got me. But when I was, when I would be like that, I never imagined that I was actually driving a car. I would just spin the steering wheel around and honk the horn a few times, and that was about it. And toys for me never really lasted a really long time because they would usually ended up destroying them. So now this toy was kind of like a parking garage toy, and you can see there's a little toy car I'm holding, and then there's a toy car up the top, and there's like a little elevator, and there was like a platform thingy that you could activate, and it would spit the car out, and you could put it in the elevator, and you could move it up and down, and it even had a bell that dinged as it went up and down. And I just kind of remember playing, for the most part, moving the things up and down, and cars up and down the elevator, and making the bell go ding. That was about all I did with that toy. Oh, and then at the bottom of the toy, there was also like a little gas pump thing that you could use to fill up the car with gas. And I just remember pulling on the string. There was like a little plastic, what was supposed to be like a gas nozzle thing. So now here I am, I'm helping Dad mow the grass with my little toy mower. Now I'd push that around the yard, but as I remember, I never actually, I just pushed it around to push it around. That was about all I did with it. I never, thought of myself as mowing the grass. So here's where I need to come back on camera and kind of, fill in a little bit of what was going on, up here in the old noggin, because I would get toys and I'd get bored with them really quickly because I wanted them to be the real thing, as opposed to, pushing a toy mower around. I would have much rather, helped Dad by pushing the real mower around. And I used to bug Dad about that all the time, and he let me try the riding mower once, and I ended up running over a tree in our yard. So much for that. It was about another 3 or 4 years before I got back on the riding mower. So now we're kind of getting into things now that I remember more of. I remember my parents giving me this. This wasn't for my birthday or anything, but it was just like it was supposed to be an off-road track, and they had this little battery-operated car, and the yellow thing there you see was actually a gate, and the little Jeep there you see was supposed to be like a Jeep, or supposed to be a gate crasher, and would come and hit the gate and it'd bust it down. And after a couple times of doing that, I just got sick of it, because I'm like, that's all it does? That's all it does? And my little mind was going, WTF, I'm like, that's all this does? That's not interesting to me. So here I am for Christmas. My parents got me like a little toy train set. Now I got a little more use out of this because as a kid, every kid on the spectrum, they like trains. I like trains, well, except for when the horn went off, because the horn was more or less, like driving ice picks into my ears, but I think I've touched on that. No, I haven't. Well, I'll touch on it in another video, but you see the little toy there? There was a, a stage, there was a little yard there. There was kind of a roundhouse and a turntable so that you can move stuff in and out, and it expanded out and it folded up into like a little suitcase thing, and play with it for a little while. But then again, I got bored with it, and then I realized that the holes there were some holes on the side of it. They looked an awful lot like the change slot things on a payphone, the old 3-slot payphones we had in town when I was that age. And so one day, about $20 worth of change from my dad went down into these little slots, and they were lost forever for about 10 years till I found it. Till I found a toy in the basement, and I busted it open, and I got all the change back out because I remember putting it in there. Needless to say, Dad wasn't too happy about me using my toy as a coin deposit thing. But seeing that he was making some progress on me, my next year for my birthday, he built me the real thing. And so I had an HO scale train set in the basement, and this entertained me for about a year. Now this was a lot more fun than the toy thing, because this was something real, this was something physical. It did stuff, and you could make it do things, and you could alter what you could do with it. And I love watching it go spinning around, and I'd crank the transformer all the way up and just watch the cars whiz around at high speed, and had a lot of fun with that. And then, but that was actually on a table, and we ended up having to reclaim the table or something, so that got junked. But then around that same time, my parents, here's a picture of Christmas the next year. I had been to a farm that summer, and I had a joy of a time driving the tractors around with my aunt. I should probably throw that picture in there too. But so they got me like a little train and wagon set, and I'm smelling everything, but like with everything else, all the toys and stuff, it's like, once I realized you couldn't do much with, I couldn't do anything real with it, I got bored with it really quickly, and I turned my attention elsewhere. Unfortunately, that same Christmas, my parents got me Legos, and now Legos was something that I could have fun with, because you could build stuff with them, you could make things, you could create things, you could destroy them, whatever I wanted to do, just start putting together the blocks, and in 20 or 30 minutes time, you'd have a little creation, and I'd make just about everything that I could think of with Legos. But I'm kind of rambling on here again, so I think you kind of, get the idea of what I'm hinting at here, that this is not, toys for people, for kids, like me on the spectrum. They got to be stuff, they had to be things that served more than just one purpose, because you get bored with them really quickly. Like I said before, I wanted toys that you can actually, that actually served a purpose. Pushing around a little plastic more wasn't doing it for me, because I simply couldn't, put myself into that space of mind to pretend that the lore was actually real and mowing the grass. That whole imaginative play thing that they talk about. But anyways, this has been a kind of another rambling, long, pointless vlog for me, but I do it because I want to get my voice out there, so thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.